one disco, 5 beers, all with disco in the name. Can only be disco day. Yes, indeed, it's me, Disco Rascal, and Disco Beer Review as well, you know. This video brings you the long-awaited, if only by me, footage of Disco Day 6, filmed originally before Christmas, or Christmas 2022, December. Bringing you beers from the Disco collection, myself, Indulgent. Look at beers with disco in the name that I've collected under the title Disco Day 6, as in December 2022. That was the 6th time I've done it. It's now June of 2023, and one thing and another, due to technical difficulties, never got the footage out and only ever reviewed the beers on written beer reviews on our Instagram page. Among those technical difficulties, the footage of one of the beers, this one, got a bit lost. So I'll hand you over to Past Disco for the actual introduction and the first of 4 beers, and then I'll pop back at the end with an actual beer review and see what I missed of this beer. And it's a big one. So over to Past Disco, roll titles. Yes, Rascal and Disco beer review with me, Disco, coming at you with another beer video from in front of the cans and bottles on the bar here at what I'm still ridiculously calling the Disco Arms. Once again, Disco Day has rolled around. A purely, totally self-indulgent look at beers I've managed to collect with disco in the name. Here's a little bit self-indulgent. I started it in the lockdown of 2020. Mostly for just some amusing content ideas, but mostly just because these things amuse me. I started noticing the beers, started collecting them together. It's a good way of finding out about new breweries and new beers as well. It also means I try some maybe different beer styles I wouldn't necessarily always get into. Got 5 to do on this, the 6th iteration of Disco Day. Would have been more, but I've been a little bit let down by, in one case, UPS, who appeared to be kicking my beers around the warehouse for 2 days before deciding it was damaged and not delivering it to me in time. No fault of the brewery, I don't think, apart from the fact they choose UPS. And there's another one, Luke, of Beers and Banter, has been trying to send me some beers, but I think they're stuck in a warehouse up north somewhere due to the current postal strikes. Again, not a complaint, these things happen. And of course, special mention to John from Lord's Brewing, who brewed a beer after talking about it last year. It's one I've been waiting for all year, but it isn't quite ready yet. It hasn't quite gone as planned, which was going to be a big stout to finish. So rather than sitting these beers around in the stash, I'm going to get straight into them. I've only got the 5 to do, as you can see from the picture around the thumbnail. And I'm going to go, as always, from the lighter ones up to the dark ones and the big finishes. I'm going to start with this one. The Cosmic Disco Duck from Villages Brewery in southeast London. Brewed in collaboration with Hot Burns Black. Excellent bottle shop over in Dulwich there in southeast London. And it is a 4.2%, sorry, 4.5% dry hopped lager. So, get it straight out into the glass and see what we get. Now this one, I had the previous iteration a couple of disco days ago, called Cosmic Disco Egg, which was, I think, a dry hop New Zealand lager with New Zealand hops. And I have poured that really quite badly, I suppose. An accidental check pour there. Cheers. It's proper cold here today. My nose is a little blocked up, and as I always say, I'm not that great on the aroma anyway. So nothing too much to smell. Probably, yeah, there's a little bit of the fresh hoppiness coming through. Touching on grapefruit, perhaps. Cheers. Well, Yep, they're not wrong with the hoppiness. It's quite light, very pale, but it's got a good kind of maltiness on the body. It's just that initial hop spike that I speak probably about too much. Not entirely my thing. There's not much grapefruit or anything particularly going on. It's just that kind of slightly spiky, earthy hoppiness. Doesn't sit well on my palate. However, it's a perfectly refreshing, drinkable lager. As always, I won't dwell too long on the initial flavour. Just going to nip out, do the photo for Instagram, and then I'll be back, see what it looks like down the bottom end of the glass. Cheers. Yeah, so there we go. You see it travels down the glass pretty well. A decent lacing on it as well. This one's certainly a light enough, easy drinking. It's gone down the glass pretty quickly, to be fair. Once I got past that kind of earthy hop spike I was talking about, kind of drifts towards kind of lilt kind of grapefruit vibes. Not lilt itself, but those kind of grapefruity notes. It's fairly gentle, it's fairly easy drinking. Good piece of refreshment. It's gone down pretty quickly, pretty tasty. There's plenty of flavour, plenty of body to it. I say in and around that kind of grapefruity hop spike. That's all for me for this one. Got another 4 to get to. So, on to the next beer. And that next beer is this one, Disco Castle, 4.2% pale ale from Azvex Brewing. Azvex is a new brewery to me. I've held off them so far, being very popular since their launch in the last year. Seen a lot of their beers about, caused a lot of interest in beer reviewing. They're based up in Liverpool. Picked this one up from House of Trembling Madison, York, along with a chocolate stout, which again, much more my thing. This one, it's quite pale, looks great in the glass, looks very pale, but also worryingly for me, looks like that kind of hoppy pale that again isn't going to suit my palate. I do get tired of saying that, and I'm sure you get tired of me saying it too, but these beers have got to be tried, and I'm willing and happy to try them, especially got disco in the name, especially on a disco day. So let's have a look. Yeah, still got that hop note to it, definite hoppy aroma, but it's much more towards, I think, the pineapple, kind of peachy pineapple, kind of stone fruit. Smells fresh, smells juicy as well. So let's have a little slurp and see what it looks like. Cheers. Okay, cool. That soft, pillowy, fluffy kind of head, probably aided again by my pour, kind of goes on into the body as well. It's definitely soft, kind of pillowy. It's got that kind of juicy, bulky, pulpy mouthfeel to it. I haven't even had these beers today in the fridge because it's too cold for that. My beer stash is underneath the stairs, but it's an outside wall, so it's proper cool in there. But this is the sort of beer style that allows for that. And again, probably not one for the winter, to be honest. In the summer, that's going down proper nice and fresh and juicy and refreshing. There's good flavours to it. Definitely, I think a little bit of pineapple coming through. Maybe some peach. Maybe a hint of orange, maybe. But it's definitely that big oaty kind of mouthfeel. I haven't looked at the ingredients. I should always do that, but my eyesight is terrible and I can't read it too well. Okay, Citra and Simcoe. Now that's a surprise because I don't know, I'm getting slowly. Maybe I'm just getting overawed by Citra, but it's getting there. And yeah, there's definitely oats in there as well. Yeah. and I'm all for that because I think it kind of softens it out, makes it more pillowier, a little bit more juicy and much more drinkable for me. That's going to go down really nicely. I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't necessarily think I would enjoy it, but if that's the sort of thing Azvex are banging out, maybe I should have a look at some more at some point. There's definitely a hop note there to it. That's the Citra coming through, but it's a little bit mellowed by the oats, quite nicely balanced. Simcoe's one I never seem to notice that much, but it's often the way with these kind of beers. It's just any variation of the main hops like Citra, Simcoe, Zaka, that kind of thing. But this one's nicely done, very well balanced, very tasty, juicy, and refreshing. I'm going to enjoy this. I don't even think I need to do a top to bottom taste test on this one. Once again, it's going to be the same at the top pretty much as the bottom, I reckon. So if you don't see me back after this, then I've gone straight into the next beer. And the next beer is this one, beer 3. It's Disco Shift, a blonde ale from Brightside Brewing up in Manchester. Listen about let's get straight out into the glass. Going to be a very different beer from the last one. Don't know too much about Brightside Brewing. It was another excellent shout from Adam at Mersey Beers, who knows a thing or two and finds a beer and often gives me excellent suggestions for disco beer. So thanks very much for that. Say, don't know too much about Brightside, new one to me, but it looks like a more kind of traditional ale brewery. A lot of stuff in bottles, but also bringing out cans as well now. I did do a rather large order because there was a lot of really interesting stuff on there. So as we can see, nice and clear with plenty of fizz rising up the glass. I put it in a Marlow Rebellion glass, nicely, not too decadently branded. Very subtle is the word I was looking for. Another very good traditional brewery, not too far away from me in my delivery area. But there we go. Yeah, nice golden colour, very clear. Excellent. Pale ale, slightly malty, slightly hoppy aroma. Cheers. Oh, I tell you what, yeah. It's not too bad in that Marlow Rebellion glass. Now, Marlow do a couple of pale ale and blonde. I think they do a blonde ale. They got one called Zebedee. Very much reminds me of that. It is quite light, but it's got a good clear mouthfeel. Little bit of lemon notes, so a little bit of citrus flavors, a little bit of lemon. A good solid blonde ale. Again, would be much better in the summer than the cold darkness of winter. But you got to try these things when you see them and when they come along. Disco Shift. I imagine that refers to a late shift in a nightclub or something like that. On the pump clip that Adam sent me, they did have the subheading of Boogie Blonde. They seem to have dropped the word boogie on this one. But that's a very drinkable pint, 500ml bottle. That's a really good price as well. Yeah, I got a touch of the hop notes on the back end, but perfectly balanced, perfectly drinkable, pretty decent blonde ale. Really difficult going on to that one. Maybe I should have done this one first, and then going on to the coming off the back of the previous one, the Disco Castle, which was a very, very craft ale, but very excellent flavours and very drinkable. Like I say, totally different beer, this one, but still very nice, very drinkable. Good solid blonde ale. Got a couple more, so it's one I can just pick up and drink. Still fairly light. What did I say it was? Yeah, 3.8. So yeah, I probably put this in the wrong order. Probably really should have started with, I do like to go up the ABVs as well as going up the lightness scale. So it would have sat perfectly well at the start, but it fits well in here now. It's perfectly drinkable. See the lacing starting to develop on the glass. Usually a reasonable sign of quality. So I'm told. Another one down the back end of the pint. I know I was saying before, especially with the previous two about travelling a pint and seeing what happens at the bottom end, where it's different to the initial taste. I say the initial taste was kind of slightly hop note, but pretty much carries on all the way down, although it kind of fades as that kind of citrus lemon drop kind of note. Another one, all three of these lighter pale beers are perhaps not necessarily so appropriate for a winter's day, but they've all done really magnificently. Be fair, they've sat all solid beers, nice refreshing pints, gone down really well. And on to the next one, and we're down the business end of Disco Day 6 with the last two beers. It's penultimate beer. It's from Neon Raptor in Nottingham. It's called Vampyre Disco, and it's a 10% peanut butter jam sour. And not just any old jam. The jam, I believe, is cherry, red currant, black currant, and strawberry. Now, this one's a little bit of a cheat because I did actually do this one in last Christmas's Disco Day 4. However, when I saw it again come up in the end of October, it was described on, and I got through Trembling Madness, it was described as Vampyre Disco 2022. So without checking, due to a bit too much excitement, I did just rush off to Trembling Madness's website and buy it just to see if it was different from last year. And I enjoyed it so much last year. It was my Disco Beer of the Year last year in the Rasco and Disco End of Year Beer Awards. And I had one because it's 10% and it's a sour. I didn't think I'd like it, but I actually went last year and bought some more of this. And it was a serious contender for my Beer of the Year at one point as well. I gave it my Disco Beer of the Year because it was pretty much head and shoulders above all the other ones I had. Whether that happens this year is another matter, but because we're a little bit short on beers this year with the others that we're missing, I thought I will put it in anyway, just to see if it's improved or if it's even any different from last year's. So let's get it in a glass. And also the other thing is I didn't actually video review it last year. It was just on the Instagram. So I want to see if I get that wow moment that I got last year. So let's get it in a glass and find out. It is a big beer. It is very special. There was a wow moment. So I'm very pleased to get some in again this year. I don't know if you can hear that gluggy noise, but it is a proper glug into the glass. It looks thick. It looks deep blood red, but it looks juicy and it pops up with that, quite frankly, excellent reddish hued, creamy-ish, bubbly white head. Can on this one, really difficult to photograph. Also really difficult to read the bits on the back. So apart from the fruit, I don't really know what's in it. I don't know. Probably isn't that many hops in it, to be fair. But that dark metallic red looks brighter on the camera on black. Really difficult to photograph. The light bounces off that can, but we'll take a photograph of it in a second. So yeah, so I see the light shining off. I don't know if you can see that, but I can, and it's quite annoying. But anyway, proper deep, dark crimson, blood red in the glass. Looks amazing. Yeah, big fruity, jammy notes on the nose. Can't necessarily make out one individual, but it's definitely a fruity jam. Bit of sweetness, I guess. Let's just see. Is it any better or different or exactly the same as last year? Cheers. Oh, there we go. Oh. Oh. Sometimes with a sour, or normally with a sour, you get that kind of one that's proper mouth-puckeringly wallop. Now, a lot of people like that. I'm not a massive fan. I prefer to taste the fruit flavours in a sour. I prefer fruit sour. But that one is a massive hit, but not a mouth-puckeringly hit. It's really hard to describe. It's tart rather than sour, particularly. And it just comes at you. It just hits the back of the palate. But it's like, I don't know. I should check actually what I called it last year. I never used to drink Vimto as a kid. Never really saw it that much, but the 1 or 2 times I did, that's kind of how I remember that. And that's kind of like an alcoholic Vimto, I guess. Maybe Ribena in there with the blackcurrant. I remember last year you had to go searching for the individual flavours. You had to actually ruminate it across the palate, across the tongue. There's not so much peanut butter this year, I don't think. The peanut butter last year, I remember, mostly came in the aroma. So when you inhaled as you took a big gulp, you got everything. You got all the senses hit at once. The peanut butter coming in, the aroma, and on the taste a little bit late on. There's not so much peanut butter this year for me. It's not a problem because it's testing the palate, testing the taste buds. It might test me indigestion a little bit later because it is proper tart. But there's a lot of big jammy sweetness in and around that tartness as well. As I say, not so much on the peanut butter, which is a shame because it did work really well last year. Maybe they've dialed it down a little bit. I don't know. And it's got that. I don't know if you can see that. That is going to stick to the glass and probably me inside. But it is a very, for me anyway, it is a very, very nice sour beer. It is. It's 10%. Don't really get much hint of that apart from maybe on that initial burst. Yeah, it's called a jelly sour. I think I was calling it a jelly ghost because I've seen it described as many things because there's so many constituent parts to it. It's got a lot of descriptions. I'm going with very, very nice, really fruity. There's a little bit of sorbet-like consistency with the thickness of the body, with all that fruit in it. I imagine there's quite a lot of fruit puree in the mash on this beer. I took a big mouthful first off just to get that wow moment, just to get that hit. It's not one you can necessarily take big gulps of, although it is proper refreshing and hits the spot. Big vitamin C hit as well. That's why I put it in towards the end. I haven't actually done the beers back to back this year. Pretty much had a little bit of a break, but it's a good palate cleanser. I'm wanging on about it too much. That's because there's a lot to say about it. Do you know what? It's going to be much more difficult. My disco beer of the year this year, because I got a big one sitting over there as a big contender that I thought was going to probably wipe the boards depending on what was going in this one. But I've got a big beer coming up after this as well, so it's going to be an interesting finish. But that is a really, really nice sour. I mean, arguably, disco beers could take the board. It could pop into my beer of the year as well because it is available enough. I've bought more than one can of it. It is a very interesting beer. It's what a lot of times when you get sours, and I say it's not my thing, and it really isn't, but they're perfectly drinkable. This one isn't quite my thing, but it's very, very interesting. It is different this year. That's the only thing I can pick out a bit of cherry, maybe a bit of strawberry. But last year I could pick out all the individual flavours. They just rippled across. Not so much this year, I think. Would have been drinking at about the same time of night. It's not necessarily that, but It is a very, very nice beer. On to the next one. Cheers, past disco. Well, there you go. That was the 4 beers that I actually managed to find the footage of. I got one more to go. This one is from Torrside, who are up in kind of Cheshire way, south of Manchester, I want to say. This is called Burn the Disco Down. It's a 11.7% triple smoked red barley wine. Now, despite having done this, as I say, in December, along with all those other beers, I can't particularly remember much about it. So, especially as it seems, I never got around to actually even writing about it on the written beer on Instagram. It's our Instagram page. I've just said beer 5 on Disco Day 6, and then said what it is and not written any notes about it. So I'm going to get it out into the glass and see what I can find. I mean, it's a big one to finish on 11.7%, but that's never stopped me before. Really been pleased with Torrside beers, and really enjoying their stuff. They do a lot of good, big, smoky beers, so I'm looking forward to finding out about this one again. I think I had a chat about it with Rasco, because I think we did a live stream after I drank all the disco beers, and I had this one on the show, so I could go back and see what I said about it. Got a bit of a blocked up nose today, when haven't I? So I'm not getting too much on the aroma. So let's go straight in with the taste. Cheers, and happy disco day, as was. Wow. Whoa. And I say whoa in a very good context there, because yeah, it's a strong one, but you knew it was going to be. It's a barley wine. There's some really, yeah. I'm not going to rush this one down, although I could do, because it's quite smooth. There's no kind of rough edges to it. There's a touch of kind of, I don't know, deep brown sugar, but it's not actual brown sugar. There's hints of kind of everything brown, little bit of burnt toast, little bit of raisin, I think. Kind of just the hint of it. A good amount of smokiness, touch of wood, kind of woodiness. Not that I really know what wood tastes like, because I don't tend to go around licking wood, because A, I have a fever about it, and B, who would do that? It's not massive on the smokiness. For me, it's kind of, I don't know, there is a little bit. It's sort of like, I want to say licking a frazzle, not a euphemism, but it's got that kind of smokiness, but it doesn't actually go that far as towards bacon. It's more like essence of bonfire. It's really nice. Don't get me wrong. None of these are criticisms, by the way. Not from me, anyway. The smoke kind of deepens. There's what I'm guessing is smoked barley in there, smoked malts. It's not quite, I mean, it's not quite Bamber kind of smoked malts, but there is a definite deep, slightly burnt toast, slightly roasted. It's yeah, it's got that red rye kind of body to it. It's proper smooth. That there is a big spirity background to it as well, but in a really good way. Kind of warming. It would have been good around about December when it was cold. Hence the jacket and jumper. It's kind of a bit of a cold summer's day today rather than hot, but I thought I'd put the same outfit on just to confuse you. Use a Titanic glass. Anyway, rather than waffling on, it's been a long video already. It says that safety of future disco in the edits. But that's a really nice beer, actually. I'm going back for it. See, you keep going back for it, despite the high ABV. It's so drinkable. It's got that warming edge of an 11%, but it's not difficult to drink. The alcohol's not biting at you. Orasco often refers to like something with alcohol bite, and I know what he means. He's got that kind of spirity edge that sort of rasps at you, but that one is proper smooth, although it's got that kind of rough brown ale, red ale kind of edge to it. Not in hop edge. Sometimes I talk about the bite of the hop, but it's just a really nice, really drinkable, really smooth. It is smooth. Makes me want to go back for more. Check it again. I'm going to try and keep that. I'm going to try and not go down that too fast. I'm going to go back to finishing the edits and just enjoy sipping that. That's a really nice one. I don't know whether there might be a little sneak into my disco beer of the year options and contenders. I know we talked about that the other week, but certainly of the disco beers, it's probably, well, on those 4 that I tried, obviously that was last year, so I didn't put that into a contention for disco's beer of the year because there were 2 other ones that kind of beat it, but it's definitely up there, so I could put it into disco beer of the year. Which reminds me, as I've created this sort of tradition of doing the footage after the event and regurgitating it, can only mean one thing, because I do these disco days usually around my birthday in July and just for fun about Christmas. I kind of didn't mean to leave them for so long. I've got 5 more beers with disco in the name. I meant to do them early in the year, but I say one thing, another technical difficulties can only mean one thing, that Disco Day 7 just around the corner. Keep an eye out on that. I'll probably do it again on the written beer reviews over on our Instagram page, link in the description, of course, and then try and get the video footage out a bit more swiftly than this time before the next one at Christmas. If you like this sort of thing, or maybe it's just me, I don't know, but if you like this sort of thing, you know what to do, the old like button, and if you haven't already, click subscribe. Do let me know in the comments section, because YouTube likes that sort of thing, as do I. And as always, on any of the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or even here, if you see a disco beer, a beer with disco in the name, got to be disco, not discovery. That doesn't count. That's stretching it a little bit. And I'm also aware of the ciders. That might happen. But yeah, if you see any beers, let me know and I'll rush out to get them. And yeah, I've been Disco of Orasco and Disco Beer Review. This has been another little roundup of Disco Day of beers from the Disco collection. Until the next one, cheers and enjoy the beers, whatever they're called.